I'm Anca Platon Trifan, and I am the owner of Trifan Events, which is a boutique event production agency. And we do all types of events, from conferences, trade shows, to small meetings, large meetings. But then I also have Events Demystified, the podcast that I host. I've been hosting for quite a bit. And that's where I interview a lot of the event professional experts. And I bring on anyone that has been in the industry for a while, is a leader in the industry and a thought leader as well when it comes to the future of the industry. So this season that I'm working on right now, it's called Eventful AI. So it's a lot about how does AI impact our industry. And then on top of that, I also have another new adventure, which is called 𝗖𝗵𝗽𝗀𝗻𝗄. And that focuses on wellness, focuses on fitness, and this is basically what this talk is about. Flexing success as a parallel between the gym and working out and climbing a mountain and building a business. Because I feel like as event professionals, many of us are really building micro businesses in our own area of expertise. So before we get started, just curious, raise of hand, any of you into fitness? Okay. Any of you into bodybuilding? Okay, at least I got it. How about into hiking and climbing? Hiking, okay, good. All right, so we have a mixed bag of everyone doing different things for wellness, which is great. And I might be a little bit competitive when it comes to wellness and especially fitness. And I'm like only on that app all the time, checking it to see where I rank. And I was talking to a friend, and they're like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna join your walk. I'm gonna be on the treadmill doing steps instead. So yeah, it's hey Jen. So it's super exciting that I get the opportunity to talk about this, because I've been on this journey, bodybuilding journey. I'm a competitor, so I actually get to go to shows and then show my naked bikini to a lot of people that will judge it. And then I wonder, why would I even do that? So I'm going to use different metaphors today, and it's going to be linking to the gym, and then also this idea of climbing a mountain, where it feels like many of our business adventures look like that. So before we even get started, imagine that you're on top of this mountain, your first summit ever. And may that be, a fitness milestone, may that be your first business, closing your first client, or may that be, you picking up that one dumbbell for the first time in your life and making the best of it. Now, before you even get there, you wouldn't just, show up at a trailhead in your flip-flops thinking that you're going to climb Everest, right? First, you'll be thinking, okay, I maybe need a game plan. I might need a dream team, and I also need the right mindset. So just like scaling a peak, when you think of building a business, you have to have some sort of a strategy. So today I want to take you through a little parallel on this, journey, where we're going to start really at base camp. Every adventure that you're going to start has to start with some type of a reality check. You have to assess your fitness level. If this is your first time hitting the gym, you want to know where you're at. You want to know what you're capable of. You want to know what's your PR, what's your target, what are your goals. You also want to know, if you're going to go on this climb, if you are, ready for it, and if you have the right gear, if you have the right people, and you have the right strategy. So reality check is where you really want to assess your level, wherever that might be. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't start somewhere, because every small step counts. A lot of people get overwhelmed at this stage. They're like, oh my gosh, I do not have the right gear. Oh my gosh, I don't have the right team. Oh my gosh, I can't even pick a 5-pound dumbbell, let alone go to, 300. So what do I do, right? Well, you do what they tell you in business class. Start with SMART goals, right? You want to make your goals so that they are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're also time bound. Now, in bodybuilding, when we look at some type of a competition, we break that down in milestones. So there is this cycle of this, 18 weeks, I'm working on this, on building this muscle group. In the next 8 weeks, I'm going to be working on this. And the next 12 weeks, I'm going to be working on this. And then as you get closer to your competition date, that's when things start getting serious. And that's when you really start like tracking numbers for your macros, for your sodium levels, your potassium level. I mean, all the tracking, steps, cardio, how much you work out, all of it matters, right? So you're serious about, you're going to go into peak week, which is basically the week prior to your big day, and you're going to be ready, shredded, ready to go. You're not going to go and change anything anymore at that stage, right? So having milestones is very important, but also along the way, every time you hit one of those milestones, stop to celebrate. Like a lot of the things that will drive you forward is those tiny celebrations along the way, right? You have those small peaks that you reach. You have those PRs that you hit along the way. So you want to celebrate those, but also track them. If you've been in business for 15, 20 years, you're going to realize that you've done a lot of cool things, but probably you forgot what those cool things are because you didn't track them. So put those down just as you would put down your goals, your milestones, so that you can go back and say, wow, especially on days when you just feel like not waking up or doing anything, so important to remind yourself, I've done some really good, cool stuff, and I'm capable of overcoming whatever it is that's in front of me. So the next step here is important to be able to adjust as you go. Now, you might have to change your workout routine when you're on this journey because you might have hit a plateau. And if you've, been trying to lose weight or just do anything in fitness, you're going to hit a plateau no matter what. You're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to take that workout, look at it, change it, add to it. And the same way with, say, if you're climbing this mountain, you really want to be able to adjust as you go, stay flexible, because that's really the key to making sure that you can get through those reps or you can get through those milestones and you can get to the next important whatever goal you have. Now, talking about the dream team, right? Like, it's important to have the right people around you, especially if you're planning to go far. What do they say? There's a saying that I'm sure I'm going to butcher what they says, if you want to go alone, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together, right? So that's super important. Now, in bodybuilding, in fitness, we have spotters. What do those spotters do? Like, say you want to max bench press and you're going to lift the heaviest you've ever lifted. You're not just going to go and do that by yourself. You want to have somebody that's sitting behind you and is ready to pick up that weight the moment you feel like you're flattered, right? So those are the people that are there so that you can push your limit safely. In business, you want to have someone that is there so that when you take calculated risks, you have a backup plan. Something is there to support you, right? So that's what spotters do for fitness. On a mountaintop, we have Sherpas, right? Those Sherpas are there to guide you. They're there to track, keep you on the right path, make sure you don't fall into like some crevices, who knows. They're there to carry the load. They're there to make sure that you have the right supplies. They will even like look at your nutrition and say, okay, you need to get more carbs in because we're going for a hard push right now. And if you don't, you're not going to make it. So they're really there to have that type of mentality to support you. But how do you choose the right people, right? Like, where do you even start? Skill set and strength matter. The same way as I was talking about, spotters in bodybuilding, you wouldn't choose someone that's like smaller than you to be your spotter. You want someone that's strong, someone that can lift that weight, someone that can support that, right? So in business, when you think about the type of skill set that you want to elevate your business, you want someone that has, at least a level extra than what you have, so you can bounce ideas off of them, so you can learn from their experience and glean from what they've done. So having that really is important so that you can elevate your business to the next level. Now, with that, you also have to keep in mind that you want the dream team that you're assembling to be aligned with your goals. Now, in bodybuilding, you have a specific workout routine, and it doesn't make sense for you to train with someone that is maybe, I don't know, running a marathon. Like, my husband runs marathons, and we never cross-train because his training looks completely different than mine. Now, every so often we go on a joyride together where I try to keep up with his pacing. Like this 5K that I did this morning, I'm like, I can push 5K, but don't make me run like longer than that. You know, I'm not a runner. Like I will go for 5K. So when he runs marathons and he feels like, oh yeah, I'm going to do another one next week, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Well, he's been training for that. I'm not training for that. I'm training for other things, right? So it's important to have a team that is aligned with your goals so that you know that they're there to support you. Another thing that's super important is trust and reliability. Now, imagine that you're on this climb, on this expedition, and you have to trust someone at 20,000 feet. You're going to trust them with your life. Like, if you don't trust that person, to the Sherpa, that team that you put together, you might as well lose your life in the process. So it's so important to have that type of trust and reliability in your team. And you want those team members to be able to not only uphold your company's values, your brand, but also be there to represent you well. And trust me, it's not easy. You know, I've gone through this process again and again. And every time I'm like, it's almost like giving birth. I'm like, why am I doing this? Because finding the right person that will stick with you is not easy. And you know, it also speaks about your leadership skills for sure. You know, definitely a lot of lessons to be learned there. Now, diversity of skills is another important thing here, because, like, for example, in gym, you'd have all kinds of different coaches. You have a nutritionist, you have a strength coach, you have what we call a booty coach. Literally, there's somebody there to just train your glutes because, you know, you want to have the right shape. You have someone that is there to maybe just be the psycho, whatever, nutritionist, therapist, the breathing therapist. Like, there's so many different type of roles. And in business, that's important just the same, because you want a team that has a diverse skill so that you can tackle whatever challenges you might face, right? So assembling the right team can truthfully make or break your climb. Now, attitude over altitude is something that it's another thing that I remember. I was in a position at a company years back, and I was in charge of hiring the right team. And many times we would say, we hire for attitude. We don't hire for skill set. I can teach you skill set, but if you don't have the right attitude, like, it doesn't work. Like, I really want you to have the right attitude as you show up, you know, for this company to represent us well. So in bodybuilding, in fitness, we have this thing that's called mind-muscle connection. What does that mean is that you have to bring so much mental focus to every single one of your reps, so that literally, as you're pushing whatever, that bench press, or you're pushing that leg press, you can see your muscle grow. Like, literally, you're making your muscle grow with your mind. It's that mind-muscle connection that enables you to reach your peak performance. Now, on a climb, climbers, a lot of them talk about this summit mentality. It's that summit fever that is going to keep them so focused on that peak that no matter the challenges they face, no matter like how many storms they have to go through, how cold it gets, like how treacherous the terrain is, their focus is on the summit. Now, you want that in your team. And in order to do that, though, you have to assemble a team that also brings a lot of positivity. Have you ever been around someone that is just like full of joy, full of positive energy, and they're just so good to be around, right? You want those people. You don't want to like hang out with someone that's always like a Debbie Downer. I mean, maybe once in a while, but if that happens all the time, you're like, I gotta find new friends. Like, this doesn't work for me, right? So you want someone that, you know, you want those people to surround yourself, and they might not be just on your team, but like friends, mentors, colleagues. I mean, you can't really pick your family, right? Like, if you're just not positive, like, you're going to try, but, you know, you really want to do the same thing in your business endeavors. Now, another thing that we do in fitness and bodybuilding, it's called visualization, right? Like, when I first started on this bodybuilding journey, I was already visualizing myself on that stage with bringing forth this package that I built, which, you know, is basically my body with the right muscles in the right place, you know, the right shape. And every single day as I'm going in and out into the gym, rep after rep, my mind is visualizing this final product, right? I'm keeping my eyes on the prize even when it gets hard, because that's what's going to keep you through those times when the tire meets the road and you're like, man, the push is hard right now. So with that, you have to be able to also adapt and overcome some of the plateaus, as I mentioned earlier, that you might hit. It's inevitable that you're going to hit a plateau. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to change your workout routine. You're going to have to adapt to, a weather change, sudden change, especially on the mountaintop. Like that always happens. If you've ever hiked anything, you're going to hit some type of weather that was not in the forecast. It's like, where did that come from? Oh yeah, that tiny cloud turned into a complete storm. And I've been on enough hikes to know that that actually is true. So whether you're prepping for this, fitness competition, or just going on this mountain expedition, or just navigating really the ups and downs of everyday business, make sure that you keep this in mind. Attitude isn't just about altitude. It's about amplifying your potential. All right. So talking about then my muscle connection, we're going to stop for a moment right now. And we're going to do something different, okay? So I'm not going to ask you to do push-ups or burpees, any of that, no. What we're going to do, we're going to stand up. So put to the side whatever you're holding right now. And we're just going to do a bit of a stretch. And really, if you do this like during your meetings or like Zoom meetings and stuff, I actually do that in between a bunch of the meetings that I have at home. And it's really helpful to get blood working. Also, my mind, refocus on whatever my next meeting is going to be. So what we're going to do is just going to do a bit of stretching, right? It's only going to involve our arms. I'm not going to make you squat, or I know there's high heels involved here, especially yours. I don't even know how you do that, all the steps today with that. So we're going to let's make sure that we don't hit anybody with our arms. So create a little bit of distance. And we're just going to rotate like thumb size. If you go backwards, do that for 8 counts. And then we're going to go forward for 8 counts. There you go. And put intention, like think about your arms connecting to your mind, and you see your arms moving in sync with your mind. And then after we do that, we're going to go in the front. So you're going to hold your arms front and then make those fists, and then feel like you're like almost like you're driving, but put pressure on your arms as you do that. Do that for about 8 to 10 counts. Okay, now we're going to do the same, but this time we're going to do it this way. All right, and now we're going to do a tricky one. We're going to stop one arm, and we're going to go just one above. There we go. 8 counts. I'm not counting right now, so I hope somebody's counting. Okay, and we're going to do the same on the other side. This is that mind muscle connection, right? Like you're trying to keep focus. Okay, perfect. All right. Now, wait, we got to work our triceps. Come on. Can't have arms without working all of it, right? So we're going to bend our knees a little bit. Put your arms back and just do pulses like that. There we go. 8. Awesome. And now we're going to make those tiny fists and pretend like you're pulling something from the back. And that should work your back muscles. Now you're feeling that in your shoulders, those wings ready to fly. Awesome. Okay, one more is like we got to do some bicep work, okay? So make those fists, put them in the front, push forward, bring back, and then pull it towards you. So we're going to do that 8 times. Come on, see those muscles growing. Oh, there you go, Lisa. Love it. Okay, whew, how are we feeling? Good, energized, ready for some more? Okay, good, go for it. All right. Okay. All right, so here's one concept that I actually gleaned from one of my podcast guests that I just interviewed recently on my podcast, Advanced Demystified. And they just came from climbing Kilimanjaro, and they were talking about the importance of acclimatizations. And as I was thinking of that, I was thinking of the stages of growth. Now, in bodybuilding, when we want to grow our muscles, there's this concept that we call progressive overload, because you can't just jump, from picking up this 50-pound dumbbell and then think that tomorrow you're gonna, whatever, go to 300. That's just not gonna happen. You have to allow your muscles time to adjust and to grow. So you're going to do that as you're increasing that load over time and intentionally in what is called this process of progressive overload. In business, you might want to, go from a startup to an industry, leader instantly. But honestly, that's not going to be good for your business, not going to be good for your team. It's going to be having repercussions in quality control and many times, unfortunately, team burnout. That's really the main, the main reason why that's not advisable. In mountain climbing, there's this thing called altitude sickness. What does that mean? Is when you just want to push for the top, but you never allowed your body to acclimatize. And that's what this comes from, right? So every time you reach your next stage, you would go to this, whatever, 10,000 feet, but then you go back down to acclimatize. Then you go and do a push for 15,000, you go push for 20,000, 30,000, whatever it is, the climb that you're doing, you're going to want to allow time to acclimatize. Now, with that comes the importance of pacing and recovery. Now, let me tell you, in bodybuilding, you need rest days for your muscles to actually recover, and not just recover, but really, as they tear, they have to recover so they grow. So that was a concept that for me, like, it was hard to grasp at first, because all I wanted to do was just push, go, and I would never rest. And I'm like, man, I'm not seeing results. I'm hitting plateaus. It's like, what? This doesn't work, right? And then I got this coach, and they're like, so how many hours of sleep are you getting? I'm like, right? Let's not talk about that. So sleep, so important. Recovery is so important. In business, what they might look like, when you have this type of unchecked growth, you might want to stop that, so you reconsider some of the processes, some of the push that you're doing towards marketing, or maybe customer service, or maybe product development, so you don't get into this organizational altitude sickness. So that means allowing time to rest, recover. And another thing that bodybuilders do a lot is called periodization. What that means is, if I work out on a certain muscle groups, I'm going to do that for 8 weeks. Then I'm changing my routine, and I do that another routine for 8 weeks. So I don't work the same muscle group forever. I will constantly periodize my workout. So I go from 8 weeks to 8 weeks, but everything changes. Like every single muscle group will change. I might change the exercise, the reps. You also do different type of, like every week is a different type of number of reps. So it's all going to be different. And that type of adaptive strategy is what keeps you from, hitting plateaus, because you don't want to stay there forever. And it's so hard to overcome that. So in business, what that means, you always have to be able to acclimatize in order to keep growing. Because as a climber, if you hit bad weather, you're not going to be able to push through that. If you hit an avalanche, you're going to have to be able to change your strategies, and you're going to have to figure out how you're going to overcome that setback, which brings me to the next point. Weathering the storm. What does setback look like in business? And if you've been in business for a while, you've hit a few setbacks. I mean, anyone COVID, doing business during COVID years, right? I remember having to pivot so many times, oh my gosh, I got almost like dizziness from it, right? Now in bodybuilding, if you get injured, and that happened to me beginning of the year. Actually, I pulled a tendon in my right shoulder, and it took me 8 months, not 8 days, not 8 weeks, but 8 months to recover from, which was such a long time. So I had to adjust my workout. I had to allow time to rest. I had to really figure things out. Now, about mid-year, as I'm recovering from my shoulder, of course, I pull a muscle in my left glute, and now I have to do all over, the whole recovery again. So that was fun, for sure. I'm still recovering from that. So what does that mean is, when you hit unforeseen challenges, when you hit that sudden snowstorm that you don't even know where it came from, you want to be able to to bounce back and keep climbing, right? And you have to look at those setbacks, not just, yeah, it's easy to look at, to say, yeah, it was such a great learning opportunity. But really, when you go back and look at those setbacks that you've had, in most cases, they were actually setups for comebacks. So look at them like that. You're reshifting your mindset on how your setback actually turned to become a comeback. And let me tell you, COVID in so many ways, that's what it was for me. As hard as it was a reason to reinvent myself and come back stronger, right? So that also means that you have been able to allow that time for rehab recovery, like me adjusting my routine. So, I don't push the same amount of weight on my right side as I was with my left side all the time, keeping in mind that I don't want to be like building this muscle, like bigger than this, right? So there's always balance and equilibrium between those decisions. Now, contingency planning is another reason. Now, you don't have to speak in front of a team of event planner and talk to them about contingency plans, because they're gonna have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Well, the same thing in business is so important to have. Like in bodybuilding, what that looked like for me was having this alternative workout routine so I can lean on and I can overcome my my inability during that time. What that looks like today, like even here at IMEX, I had to adjust my workout routine, and I have a show in 30 days. So I'm like working out every single day because I got to get my numbers where they need to be. And I'm looking at the gym, and I'm staying, at Mandalay Bay. And the cardio room is like, it doesn't have any of the things that I'm used to, right? But I had to have a alternative workout program so it can take me through this time. And I'll go back to my regular programming when we're back. So having contingency plans, super important in business so you can navigate those rough patches. With that comes mental toughness. How many times have you been in situations that in order to push through that last grueling set, it's just your mind over matter that is really getting you there? And that's what mental resilience is when when you're in business, when you're climbing a mountain, when you're hitting a storm, when you gotta get that last rep. I'm telling you, sometimes I talk to myself, like even this morning on the run, I'm like, your legs are strong, they're able and capable to take you to the next mile, and you know that because you've done it. So you talk to yourself in ways that you can overcome. It's your mental ability to take over your body. And there's people that have done crazy things just by telling themselves that they're able. And we have such a power in ourselves. And many times, like, we don't use it. Like, oh my gosh, I am so weak. No, I am not. Like, I'm strong and I'm going to believe that, right? So the same thing in business. Like, I know there's challenges. I know there's rough patches. I know, like, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll. Well, guess what? I'm going to figure it out. I figured out some harder things before, and I'm going to do it again. So here we are, the final peak, and guess what? The next mountain. If you've been hiking or climbing mountains, I always ask this question, especially like my guests that I talked about earlier on my podcast. So I asked them, so what did you feel when you got on top of that mountain? Like, what was the feeling, right? I mean, even when you hit a PR in bodybuilding, you're like, yeah, you celebrate, you go out, and you're thinking, okay, so what's my next PR? So my guest is like, I looked around and I saw another mountain. I wanted to climb that mountain now, right? So there's always going to be another peak, which goes to say that hitting your first summit or hitting that first PR is just an opportunity for continuous growth. It's not the end of the journey. It's just the start of the journey, because it's just testament to the fact that you put in hard work, to your dedication, to your resilience, to your team that, has been around you and supported you. So that endorphin rush that you might feel, that feeling of accomplishment that you've done something super hard, let that fuel you and drive you into your next challenge, into your next business opportunity, into your next, whatever it is that you want to do. Don't just stop there, because at the end of the day, what you don't want to do is settle. You never want to settle. You want to go after the next goal. You want to be able to use that progressive overload goal and keep building upon the success that you just had. And in closing, because I think we're about to come to time here, I just want to review the fact that as we started on this journey, we first off kicked off a base camp, and that's where we set those crucial initial goals. Then we assembled our dream team. Those are our spotters, those are our Sherpas they want to have around us. Then we realized that attitude over altitude means that mindset is everything, especially in business. We talked about acclimatization and pacing ourselves and making sure that we have time to recover and maybe change strategy if we must. We also talked about weathering the storms and how setbacks are really setups for comebacks. And then reaching that final peak gave us that sweet taste of accomplishment, of success, but also taught us that there's another climb. There's another mountain, and that mountain is all about never settling, never stopping, and always growing. So with that in mind, what is really the common thread? This is where I am so strong on mental and physical fitness as being your secret sauce for powering through no matter the challenge, no matter what you're facing. And with that, I'm gonna end with this. I mean, life is too short to just stand still. You know, I can't emphasize that enough, but at the same time, if you're eyeing the next opportunity, if you're eyeing that PR that you want to hit, if you're eyeing just starting your fitness journey, or maybe, I don't know, plotting your next business move, right? Don't let the whole overwhelming plan stop you from just making that first step. So start, and with that, what are you guys waiting for? Go climbing. Thank you so much for coming. Connect with me. There's a connect card if you wanna connect with me.